And speaking of depression, speaking about how our food impacts our mood, I am very honored to introduce Angela Saunders today. She's going to be interviewed now. She's joining us by phone. Angela, she is an accredited dietitian and nutritionist, and she's going to help us understand the connection between healthy eating and our mental health. Angela, good morning to you. It's great to have you with us.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm really good. Look, me and, of course, Dan Livingston is with me today. He's also going to be, he has some questions that he wants to ask you regarding that topic. So
I've got a few questions for you, Angela. It's great to have you on the show this morning. And the first one, why would we worry? Why is it important? Why should we worry about mental and cognitive health?
Well, Daniel, our latest Australian health report tells us that for children, the 5 top health issues are anxiety, depression, conduct disorder, autism, and asthma. And you might have noticed that 4 of those are related to mental health.
Interesting.
That's huge, isn't it?
Yeah, particularly that it's children, because I remember, back in the days, it was pretty much unheard of. But now I think more and more children are having to struggle with mental health issues.
Yeah.
Yes. And for adolescents, this is pretty shocking. 1 in 3 adolescents are actually receiving mental health services.
Yeah, wow.
And so that's children. And from that, we're learning that, what mothers eat during pregnancy is super important for their children's mental health. But for older adults, dementia has now become, for men, the 2nd leading cause of death, and for women, the 1st leading cause of death. We think of women dying from breast cancer, heart disease, same for men, heart disease. But now dementia has overtaken those. So that's huge concern.
Interesting. We'll come back to dementia. But as a dietitian, how did you get to be so interested in cognitive health? Is there a link between what we eat, our gut, and the health of our brain?
Yeah, so I'm now retired, but over the decades that I've worked as a dietitian, I've focused on managing health with food. And it's really only in the last maybe 10 years that we now have a far better understanding of how all that works. And I love the how. I want to know why and how this all works. Right. And I've gotten really excited about this new research on how the gut, the community of microbes within our gut, has this amazing, profound influence on our health.
Yeah, the gut microbiome.
Health, brain health, this is amazing. So the microbes in our gut are quietly shaping really every aspect of our long-term health. Now that's including our immunity, our metabolic health, like our blood sugar, our blood cholesterol, and even our mood and cognition. That means learning and memory and so forth. So what we've learned is that if we look after our gut well, our gut microbes that is, they in turn are going to help to enhance our overall health, including our mental health, our mood and cognition. And, we know we have neurons in the brain. Of course, we understand that. But did you know we have neurons in our gut as well? And they're being cared for by our gut microbes. And they're in constant communication with the neurons in our brain. So we know now that this gut-brain connection, or axis as we call it, explains why when we're anxious, we kind of feel it in our gut.
Yeah,
we've all had that experience, we sort of refer to it as our 6th sense. So all very interesting. I found this fascinating research.
Well, maybe our gut could be known as our second brain, given that there's a lot of neuron activity down there.
Exactly. Yep.
So tell me more about these microbes. Why are they so important, and how do they influence our brain health and our mood?
Well, these gut microbes, we have to think of them as living organisms. That's exactly what they are. So they rely on food for their health. they're relying on some very specific nutrients from plants to keep them healthy. So they need food, and the food they need comes from plants, and in particular, nutrients such as fibre. You maybe have heard of prebiotic fibres, that's a particular type of fibre, but also polyphenols. So those are those really interesting bioactive compounds in colourful fruits and vegetables that have a profound antioxidant effect on our health. So, believe it or not, these microbes, they digest these nutrients, and as they're digesting these fibres and polyphenols, they're producing a critical substance that we call short-chain fatty acids. There's a number of those, but they help with digestion of food, absorption of nutrients, protecting our gut lining. That's super, super important. They help to support our immune system. They reduce the risk of inflammation. We're going to talk a bit more about that later. But they also help with satiety, helping us feel full after a meal, and that helps with weight management. So, but in regards to brain health, they also produce what we call neurotransmitters, and one of them in particular is called serotonin. Serotonin sends calming signals to the brain. So that helps to manage our mood and improve our memory. So this is all fascinating stuff, to me at least.
Yeah.
And another amazing thing that these short-chain fatty acids do, they actually act like fertilizers to our brain cells. So if we're eating the right food, we can actually grow more brain cells. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So we do refer to our gut microbiome, this collection of microbes within our gut, as an essential organ now, because it's doing some really critical work for our overall health, including our brain health.
Yeah. You know, I understand there's some groundbreaking research here in Australia from the Food and Mood Research Centre in Deakin University, and it's referred to as the SMILES trial. What did they find in that trial?
Yeah, this was groundbreaking research internationally. They found that people with major depression who ate a mostly plant-based diet, or something like the Mediterranean diet, were able to significantly manage and lower their risk of depression. In fact, a third of them, Daniel, went into remission from major depression. This was outstanding research, and it was a clear cause and effect, not just an association.
Yeah.
So we know that that's really, really strong evidence from research. And this all happened after just 3 months of changing the way they ate. And then there were some follow-up studies that they did as well that showed by eating a wide variety, a diversity of plant foods, they were able to not just only reduce their depression, but improve their memory. And, you know, we all want that, don't we?
Yeah.
I certainly do now as I'm getting older. So understanding that connection between the gut and the brain, we know is super empowering for people who are really keen to improve their mental and overall health.
Yeah, that's really interesting and great to see research trials that clearly show those outcomes. It's hard to do randomized controlled trials for diet, isn't it? It's a hard thing to It's a hard thing. Yeah. So I've heard that chronic inflammation is the underlying cause of most chronic diseases, like heart disease and diabetes, etc. And I said we'd come back to dementia. So I imagine that's true for dementia also. What does the research say about this?
Yeah, so this is very interesting. Managing chronic inflammation is really key to managing overall health, including dementia, mental health, etc. So coming back to the gut, chronic inflammation actually starts in the gut. And if we eat poorly, unhealthy microbes are going to start dominating in our gut. And we'll start to produce some harmful substances that then go on to damage our gut barrier. That then triggers our immune system, and then that sets off this alarm system called chronic inflammation. But if we eat well and we keep those microbes nice and healthy, and we have a balance, a better balance of microbes, that helps to manage blood pressure, blood cholesterol, blood sugar, and, believe it or not, reduces your risk of dementia by 60%. A wonderful study in America was done on this, and they found that it significantly lowered the risk of dementia just simply by eating well and looking after those gut microbes. So essentially, when we keep our microbes healthy, we're also keeping our overall body healthy. So this is telling me the why, the how. How does this all work? Well, seems like these gut microbes are a hugely important part of our health. We need to look after them.
Yeah, thanks, Angela. Hey, we only have a couple more minutes. I've got a couple more questions, though, for you. There seems to be so much controversy regarding what it means to eat well. And I imagine there's more recent research about gut health and brain health. Do we have a clear idea for the best foods for health, including brain health? And so as we finish, can you give us a little bit more specifically, what are the best foods for brain health?
Yeah, so I've already mentioned, our gut microbes love plant foods. So what we're looking for is to eat the rainbow of plant foods. So lots of colourful fruits and veggies, berries, citrus, apples, melons, and those lovely colourful veggies, those dark green leafy veggies, etc. But legumes, did you know that legumes were a wonderful source of very important fibre for our gut microbes, whole grains, nuts and seeds, and those healthy fats as well, extra virgin olive oil, avocado. So, it's all about diversity of food, plant foods in particular, and our gut microbes are going to love you for that.
Man, I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. Yeah. What about water? Where does that fit in?
Oh, when you start to eat more plant foods, you're eating much more fibre, and fibre and water love each other. You've got to have those together. They want to be together. So be sure you drink lots of water. It's very important to be hydrated, but fibre and water work together in the gut to keep us nice and healthy.
Excellent. We know that there's currently no cure for dementia, but let's end on some great news. About half of all cases can be prevented or delayed by improving lifestyle choices.
Yes. So a very, very important study report from America, from the Lancet, tells us dementia is not inevitable with age. So that's really great news.
Yeah.
So essentially they're saying if we eat well, if we move more, sleep better, quit smoking and drinking, we can actually lower our risk of dementia. So it's not just about our food choices, Daniel, but it really is about all the other lifestyle choices as well that keeps us well. And I bet that you've heard about the longest living blue zone communities. Yeah. And they eat mostly plant foods and do all the things we've just mentioned. They stay socially connected. They take time to rest and reduce stress. And they live, as a consequence, well into their 9th and 10th decades without chronic disease and without dementia. So, that's super good news, isn't it?
Yeah, that's awesome. So there was a late 19th century health reformer by the name of Ellen White, and she understood the connection between our lifestyle choices and overall health. And she said something along these lines: the health of the body has everything to do with the health of the mind and heart. Can you comment on that, Angela?
Yeah, so she well understood that connection all those years ago. She was really talking about spirituality. She understood that it's easier to think positively, to be open to God's purpose for our lives when we care for our bodies. If we care for our bodies, our minds are clearer, etc. So, Daniel, I hope your listeners are enjoying good health. And if they would like further information, I highly regard healthcare providers. So reach out to your doctor, your dietitian, your naturopath, and ask about the programs that are available that help to support and provide additional information. And we know that God said to us that I love the text in John 10:10. I have come that you might have life and have life more abundantly. So, you know, we hope that your listeners are living an abundant life.
Yeah, thank you very much, Angela. That's really helpful, practical tips for living healthily and having good mental health as well.